Welcome to the MHP Exchange Podcast, where industry veterans Frank Rizzo and Eric Busadil generously share their wealth of knowledge in their new podcast dedicated to the manufactured housing space. They tackle tough questions to provide valuable insights for those considering investments in mobile home parks. If you're seeking answers in the manufactured housing space, this podcast is your go-to resource.
So we're back on the MHP Exchange Podcast. I'm your host, Frank Rizzo. And this is our community owners corner where we're talking with community owners and people in the space that make things happen. And the MHP Exchange Podcast brought to you by the MHPExchange.com. That is your source for opportunity, news, education, and entertainment. So if you're looking for information on the MHP space, check out the MHPExchange.com. In joining me today, I have a very special guest and somebody who just an interesting side note. And I feel like I know him without really knowing him. And I've gotten a chance to meet him in person. And he's a really interesting gentleman. And I think he's got some really great take on the space. And I'm going to tell the story because I feel like I met him almost in the beginning from a phone call on a property that we had. And just to see what he's been able to do and the time he's been able to do it. It's been a tremendous story. He's a veteran, a Marine vet, 22 years that he spent in the Marines serving the country. And now he's a mobile home park operator in the Southeast. I'm welcoming Joe Jackson to the program. Joe, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. And I appreciate that introduction. That's too kind, sir.
Well, And it's funny because I want you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself, but I do remember because you are a very memorable person, even on the phone, that I had a deal out and you called me up on this deal. And I think it wasn't even on the market. And I think you were calling me about the park that I owned in Sylvester. And then you were telling me about, hey, you're looking to get into the space and how you'd want to structure it and look at it. And I said to myself, wow, it was a great conversation, even though it didn't go anywhere, right? On that deal, in that regard at that time, we weren't looking to put it on the market, but it was a great conversation that I remembered your name. Like I was like, and that made it so memorable. But Joe, maybe you could tell everybody else a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So, starting from the beginning or whatnot, I grew up in a mobile home park that my grandparents owned. They owned it for as long as I could remember. I have pictures of me on top of mobile homes, tarring them, putting the tar up there, the roofs and stuff, working under mobile homes. That's how I got, new school clothes and stuff. I had this little raggedy lawnmower and weed eater. And I'd go to each residence and I would charge them $5 to cut their grass and to weed eat. And so I thought I was in the big time then, man, make the killer money. But my grandparents actually sold that mobile home park in 1999. And I'm pretty good friends with the owner now. Every time I see him or talk to him on the phone or whatever, I says, is it time? Because it's still named Jackson Mobile Home Park. And I ask him every time I see him, like, is it time to sell yet? He's like, not yet, man, not yet. I'm like, all right, just let me know. Just make sure that I at least know that you're putting it on the market if that's the way you want to go. Let me get a chance. But yeah, no. Then right after high school, I went into the Marine Corps. I served 22 years there, and I decided that what am I going to do once I grow up, right? Get out, retire. I had no idea. I'd been in the Marine Corps longer than I had not been, right? So I didn't know quite what I wanted to do. Had a buddy started talking to me about duplexes and triplexes and stuff like that. I started running the numbers. I was like, man, we got to own a whole lot of these to make them numbers work. I don't think that's the route I want to go. So I started in the mobile home park business. Like, I know it. I know the maintenance to them. My uncle still manages. He's a park manager, so I can go to him and stuff like that. so I started watching podcasts and stuff of like Ryan Norris and, of them reading books from what is it? What's the broker's name that has the book out? Oh man, Muschamp that works for Muschamp. Anyway, yeah, sorry, but anyways, I read that book, and got me really involved, and I got into a mastermind. They all they kept saying is take action, take action. Well, I found a park right by where I was living. I convinced the owner to finance it to me. I got into the business, and I told everybody, hey, I own a 32 lot mobile home park, blah, blah, blah. And not telling everybody it only had 3 mobile homes on it, but that's beside the point. But it gave it somewhat gave credibility and seriousness to me. And then I went on to find another park that me and a couple of guys owner financed also. And then after that, the third deal, I went through the MHP brokers, but I negotiated a owner finance deal through that also. So the first 3 deals that I had, I owner financed, and that's the way I got around banks and having to bring in a KP and all this other stuff. And that third one was a syndication. That was a hard one just because of the credibility issue of for the investors and stuff. And so we had some.
I want to just 1 second, because there's a lot there, and I want to go back to the first one. No, and it's a remarkable story, Joe. And first of all, thank you for your service. I mean, you spent 22 years. I mean, that's a lifetime, and thank you for your service and all the work that you've done there. Yeah. And then you come back, and obviously now you're looking for your first mobile home park, and I think that's where we first started talking, right?
Yeah.
And getting seller financing, which everybody says, all right, I could talk to the owner, I don't need a bank, which maybe that allows me to not have to go through some of the rigors that a bank might want. But there's a confidence factor that seller has to have in you to be able to perform and execute, right? There is an art to getting seller financing, because not every seller wants to offer it. That's and right. B, when they do, they want to know that you will perform. So here you are. You did have some experience growing up there, and obviously you worked in a park before, but you buy a park which for a first-time owner is probably the most challenging one to buy. It's an infill project with nothing there. Like, great. So one, how did you earn the confidence of the seller to say, hey, Joe's going to be able to execute on that business plan, and I'm willing to finance it. That's one. Yeah. And then let's talk about like what happened once you owned it. But how were you able to do that?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So I, like I said, when they said take action, I started looking in the area that I lived in, and I came across this park, and I think I was looking on OnX or something like this, like a hunting gap. And I was finding all the mobile home parks within a 30-mile radius. So I was just searching for them on the map, and I found them, and I found this one. And it was interesting because all it had was 3 mobile homes on there, and I was like, man, what happened? I researched it. There was a tornado that came through in 2017 that kind of destroyed the place, right? There was a retention pond on it, and I went down there and I visited, and it was it was a beautiful piece of property, and I could just vision what we should do with it, right? And how it would look like a vibrant neighborhood, and what the plans I would love to do. But you're absolutely right. So I contacted the owner. I found out that the owner, luckily he was a mom and pop owner, so his name was actually on the title. And then I found that he owned another business in Albany, Georgia, and I kind of just tracked him down and talked to him, and was like, hey, you got this piece of property, you're not doing much with it. What, just kind of going into it. And he said he hadn't thought about it for a while, but yeah, we sat down, and I told him my story, and I told him, I'm a 22-year Marine. I'm looking to get out to do something, this and that. And over the weeks, he became more and more comfortable, and he was like, okay, you know what, this is what we can do. And then we laid out the seller financing terms on there, how much put down, which was close to nothing because I didn't have anything really, And we just worked it out, man. And then I got with a couple other veterans, and we bought it. And
so now you own it, right?
Mhm.
Now you own it, and you step into a project. And listen, I've been there, right, and done that. But now you have a project, but you need a lot of capital to work that infill, right? So the thrill of getting the park is one thing, right? That is like one joy, and that's a rush to get it. But then when that wears, like the moment you sign, you realize like, oh wow, now it's real, and now I got to get to work.
Right.
So how did you get that park from 3 units to operating? Like, what was your strategy there?
Yeah. So I'll tell you, once the realization hit and the task at hand actually, because I was really naive, right? I was like, I can do this. This is all you have to do is just buy mobile homes, bring them in, and then put renters in them, and it's fine. Why isn't everyone doing this? Don't mention that these lots had mobile homes on them for about 6 years, and the infrastructure was kind of falling apart, and the pads weren't really there. So all of this, right? And I quickly realized, I talked to people, I talked to the guy from the firm. I was just hitting all of these bigger names in the industry up, just kind of saying, hey, what do I do with this? Is it worth doing? What do I have to do? And all this, just trying to get somebody to kind of come in and help, because like I said, once I bought it and I realized the task at hand, I had no idea what to do. And I'll tell you, I didn't even know what a rent roll was. I didn't know what the laws were. I had no idea, to tell you the truth. I mean, it's amazing that we were able to get that deal and then get it sold. We didn't get it all the way completed like we wanted. We just didn't have enough capital to do it, tell you the truth. And then, a bank wasn't going to loan someone that has never done that kind of work, that type of money and stuff. And so it stalled on us, and it stalled for about a year. And then I got up with Eric from the MHP brokers,
Mm-hmm.
and he helped sell it to a developer for us.
So you exited. Right?
Yeah, we did.
Bought the park, and then you had an exit, and you obviously did well enough that you were able to move forward.
Oh yeah. No, we did well. We came out of there. Luckily, like I said, looking back on it, I mean, yeah.
The interesting thing that you said in that, Joe, and for those who have had the opportunity to meet with you or to come in your path, one thing that I've noticed is that you ask a lot of questions, right? Like and you're not shy on asking a lot of questions to people, which quite frankly, I know that I've done that. And that's how I've kind of built myself. You go to somebody, ask questions, go to somebody else, ask a question. And very few people want to learn, and then very few people actually do that. And the fact that you did kind of lets you, jump up, education levels real quick. And then you ended up turning a profit, which is huge, because your first deal, you turning a profit on, even if it's a small one, it's an education with, an economic opportunity there, which is great. Yeah. So now you did another deal with your group. Great. But now you went into syndication, which you mentioned, right? Which is totally different.
Yeah.
Right. So why don't you share a little bit about that opportunity that you had and how that process was?
Yeah. So it was really good. The park was actually an on-market deal. I just kind of lived near it. I went down there. It was a beautiful park. I just couldn't believe why it hadn't sold yet. And it was just a beautiful park. It really is. And to this day, I mean, that's probably going to be one of those parks that we hang on to for a long time. It's just an amazing park.
Do you mind sharing where it is?
Yeah, it's in Hayhira, Georgia.
Okay.
It's Creekside RV and Mobile Home Park.
Okay.
Yeah, so it has half of it is a RV park and half of it is a mobile home park, and it's a beautiful park. I mean, it really is. And all the tenants have been there like 10 to 15 years. They just never lived, and that's on the RV side too. I mean, we have great tenants there too in the RV park side. that just have never left since it's been built, But yeah, so I saw this park. I didn't understand why and all this other stuff, but yeah, so I talked to the owner, and me and him, we really connected, and told him my story and talked to him, and he understood me, and he was willing to take a bet on me, and he liked my vision of where I would like to take the park and what I would like to do, and kind of got to know me, and so we worked out an owner finance deal, like I said, through Eric at MHP Brokers. And he really helped also, and we worked it out. Well, now, we signed the PSA. Now, where are we going to come up with the $900,000 down payment, right?
Just small, minor issue.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
just need $1 million. Right?
Just one problem at a time, okay? one step at a time, one problem at a time, okay? So there we are, and we'd been trying to capital raise on this thing for about a month, through the due diligence period. And now we're getting into the second part, and of closing and stuff. And Eric and the owner are like, hey, what's up, man? I mean, we really haven't heard an update or whatever. And I think at this point, I think we've raised like $100,000, maybe $200,000, and so we had to bring in a capital raiser to help us. And anyways, he showed us the ropes. He kind of showed us everything. He's still teaching, they're still teaching us, investor relations and all this other stuff to this day. But yeah, we watched them work, and they made quick work of it. Right. I mean, it was a really good, group or whatever that helped us. And anyway, so we got it done and closed it. And then I pretty much lived at the property for the first year, learning and helping and doing things, doing CapEx and bootstrapping a lot of these projects, because I grew up in a family of construction workers too. So I understand, building and CapEx and all that stuff. So to make the return stronger, I'm down there. I was down there doing all kinds of stuff to ensure that it got improved, right?
So you're and here's one thing I love about what you're doing and how you're doing it. You are very hands-on, right? You're not, hey, I'm buying a property and I'm going to put it in somebody else's hands and let's see what happens. You have a vision, and then you're hands-on operating, getting your hands dirty to make sure that it's producing or hitting along those lines and those milestones. So, and not everybody does that, right?
Right. Yeah.
You do have people who look at this on a spreadsheet and say, hey, it's a great buy, and that's it. But there's a difference in getting down in the weeds. And I'm familiar with the Creekside matter because we looked at that deal as well. Now, you mentioned there was some uniqueness that happened right away that helped on that deal, right? That you were able to kind of pierce through. So if you mind sharing, like, what was that, like, that vision? How were you able to pierce through those numbers, make that deal work? What was it about that deal that kind of drove you into that market and made you feel comfortable putting yourself on the line, raising $900,000, having that type of owner financing there? What was that?
Every deal that I look at, I always go to the deal, get my boots on the ground. I'm there. Because when I go to a property, I like to feel it, right? And that's a weird thing to say, right? I like to feel the community. I like to feel the surrounding area. I can get there and I can look at the park, and then I can look what surrounds the park, and I can say, you know what, we could do this vision to take this park from this. It can go from a C to a B, right? Because of the surrounding area. It's a beautiful little town. It's cozy. Everybody feels safe here. It's in this property, the way it flows. The tenants have great pride in it. It's a beautiful property already. It just needs a professional management, somebody that's going to look at it as instead of looking at it as my friends live there and I don't want to raise the rents, and stuff, which I don't like raising rents that much either, but it's a necessary evil, a necessary thing to do in this industry. But anyways, I saw it and I said, man, this is a great little town. Valdosta's right there. The population growth is good. The school system is great here. They don't have much crime. And it's one of those towns that you see that all these places are starting to build, like the cozy little town with the mom and pop shops all in it that you can walk around. And so I just saw that and I go, you know what? The occupancy here is great. I see it. I talked to the residents. I saw how their pride and ownership was, and I saw it. And I said, this is going to be a great property. And when I talked to the owner, he saw my passion for the property, and he saw that, I guess he believed that I would take care of it as much as he would, because he developed it and he made it come to where it is, and that was a big thing with him. And we just talked. I just listened to his stories, and I chatted about my childhood. He chatted about his, and we just kind of sat out there, drinking sweet tea on the front porch. And I let it go as far, as long as he wanted to go, till he got comfortable, until he understood that I am what you see I am. I'm not fake. I'm not sitting here trying to sell you something. I want this deal to work for both of us. And, I want you to win. I don't want you to walk away going, man, he really got one over on me. I don't want that. I want both parties to walk away win-win. And then we go about our day and we're still friends. I still talk to him and stuff. And, but yeah, and he understood that and he saw it and he believed it. So,
the interesting thing, Joe, and I've been in real estate, my entire adult life, essentially. So for over 22 years of experience of being in this space, in the real estate industry as a whole, the most genuine people that I've ever found have been in this sector of the real estate space, from the owners and the operators to the even from the residents. It's such a people business. And we've had instances where, where for us to acquire the community owner wanted to meet with us, wanted to sit down with us, wanted to know what our plan was, because they were still going to be in that city or town, and people kind of associated them with that community and how that community was going to look going forward. They felt that it reflected on them. And, I've been into, apartment, multifamily and duplexes, and no one thinks about that when they're selling their garden style apartment complex. No one says, well, I sell this and, I want to make sure someone's going to handle it. This, it's more of a dollars and cents thing. And a lot of times what I think people miss, right, when they talk about the MHP space, it's not always dollars and cents. It's people, it's personalities, it's vision, it's plan. And that helps you win certain deals from certain owners, because they want to know that, hey, you're going to take it the next mile. And we've had the experience where we've had a number of community owners not only sell us the community, but end up working with us because we could, put gasoline to their plan to where we want to accelerate the growth there. So that's a great story. That's your first indication, but it wasn't your last, right? Because I hear from you now, like, how many more deals have you done since then?
Yeah, so we've done two more. And this is jumping now. So the interesting story between that deal and then the next two deals is a jump, right? As you know, I post on LinkedIn quite a bit about my journeys and stuff like that that's going on. And a gentleman reached out to me and he said, I really love your vision of mobile home parks. I see that you're very passionate. You're very knowledgeable. And I really like that about you. I'd love to talk about a job and, a job opportunity. And I said, okay, yeah, fine. But I looked his profile up, and you could tell he hadn't posted really on there. And, so I'm thinking maybe, oh man, is this guy for real or whatever? But, I took a leap of faith and I contacted him. And, that's probably when they say that you're, one phone call or one, meeting one person from success or further in your career, that's exactly what this was. I'm so glad and happy that I did, take that leap of faith to call this gentleman. His name is Herschel Shaw from Prime Oak Capital, right? And that's where I am now. And he at first, he offered me the job, acquisitions and stuff, and I worked. And quickly I moved into operations, also us working closely together. And then, then I got, then I started getting equity in deals and stuff, being a partner. So that's kind of how that fast forwarded there. And since I've partnered with him, we have closed two deals, one in Lafayette, Louisiana, and then the other one in Warner Robins, Georgia, equating to around about 400 lots.
So I mean, these are big sites. I mean, it's to make that move in that time from 32 units, right, to 150 pad parks, 200 pad parks or greater. And that's a big jump. But it just goes to show, I mean, you going out there, being on the ground, seeing what's happening and handling that operation part of it and really getting to know the markets, right? So one thing that obviously that I'm getting from this is that when you go in, I mean, you get to know the owners, their stories, what is making this community work and what you have to do to make it better. I mean, would you say that that's been part of the recipe for you?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So that's 100% on point. I not only if the deal is going to work, but can we make it? What can we do to make it better going forward? Right? How can we add to it? Because we always want to add value to these properties that we take over and stuff. And maybe the park is perfect and there's no maintenance or there's nothing that we can improve on, which I haven't saw very many parks like that. But but most of the ones that we're going after, there are improvements that we can do that directly impact the tenants' lives to make them more comfortable, make them more proud of the community. And that's a big mission statement in my world, is that I'm trying to make, we're trying to take these communities and not just have a place to live, affordable housing and stuff, but we're wanting to make them communities again, right? We want to make them somewhere when the kid is on the bus and their friends see him get off that bus at that community, that they're not getting, they're not getting made fun of or whatever. That's somewhere that they can be proud of to live and grow up in, and their parents can be proud to tell their friends that's where they live and that's where they're raising their kids at. And that's anywhere from doing beautification of the neighborhoods, bringing in new houses, doing CapEx projects, doing the roads, building community centers, all the way to having after-school tutors for the kids, which is a playbook out of Ryan Norris's book. I took that to heart when I heard that he was doing that in a lot of his communities. He would, he has a college fund for the kids in his community, stuff like that, man. I mean, that's the way I want to give back to this community, right? And so as we go forward, we're setting up programs like that going forward also. And I think that the new wave of owners that are taking over mobile home parks now, that are taking over from the original owners or whatever, I think that our visions are pretty much in line with mobile home parks. We're trying to take that stigma away from mobile home parks and turn them back into communities and turn them back into these thriving communities, actually. So
what do you think? I mean, when you go into these parks, I mean, what do you, everyone has a little different take on it, but what do you think is like the most important thing that you can do, when you get there? What are you trying to build when you get there? What are you looking to improve upon when you get in, when you take over a community?
So the first thing I look at is the management of the community. How has it been managed, right? Because a lot of these communities that you go into, the tenants are very, very upset with the current management or whatever, because they didn't do X, Y, all that, right? So the first thing that I think the biggest step is getting the right person that fits that community, that can breathe life into it, get that person in that community and help the transition between ownerships, right? And then from there, you start building on that community. It doesn't have to be a community center, right? It could be like a field that you have, or something that you have a picnic, a pavilion with a picnic table on it with some barbecue, something that the community some area that the community can come together in, right? And I know some of these parks are smaller and they don't have that area. But we always try to find that area that we can build upon, to have them community events, to have the community come together, whether it be food, lunches or events like Easter, Christmas, whatever. But we believe that the tighter knit the communities are, the more pride they'll have in it, and then the less delinquencies you'll have, and the less problems you'll have.
So, it's funny, Joe, because we look at it very similar, like in a very similar fashion. You have this over the last few years, this corporate ownership that's come into this space to look to institutionalize it, and they forget, I think, and some of the new owners that have come in here too, forget that what allowed people, or what made people become sticky residents, why they would stay on average 17 and a half years, wasn't just because they owned their home and it was very expensive to move their home off the land, but because they had that sense of community, right, living there. So we might look at it and say, wow, that's a substandard community. The roads aren't so great. The trees are overgrown. Maybe there's some debris in the back of the park. The fence isn't up. I mean, it doesn't have any amenities. But to them, the owner knew who they were, right? Understood their problems, knew their family, right? They had that connection. And so having that connection and that engagement with the owner maybe allowed them to stay longer, because we've seen recently some owners who have come in, maybe they've made improvements, but they've moved rents. But as soon as the resident didn't feel that connection with the ownership, they would leave. That's right. So, and you're intentionally building that culture of, here we are, we own this park, we want to be engaged with you, we want you to be our residents, and we want you to be part of what we're building here. And that's what I'm hearing from you. And I think it could be a very low cost way to, you could build, you either build culture intentionally or not, right? You're always building a culture, but it could be a very low cost way to create such good brand awareness or goodwill by just doing those things, having those events inside your community. And that's great that you're able to do that and bring that home.
Oh yeah, no, we love it. That's the biggest part of this, man. I mean, is helping the people and improving their lives also. It's not all about the money in this. If it was all about the money, I don't think that I would have lasted as long as I've only been in about 3 years now, but I don't think that I would have lasted if it was all about the money. It checks a lot of boxes for me as a man of faith and stuff like that also, that I'm able to help individuals that are there, right? And my goal, like I said, we teach budgeting classes for the parents and stuff, all kinds of stuff like that, and it's all to improve their life. And if they improve their life and they're able to move out and buy a bigger house, and I had any part in that, that's a win. If they feel safe and secure in their neighborhood, that's a win also, so if you care about people, I think that the people will know that, they feel that, and that they will be loyal also, and by staying longer, and because it's just it embodies the whole community aspect.
So what's next? I know you just took down a big park in South Georgia or Southeast Georgia. Yeah. Are you in acquisition mode now? Are you?
Yeah, so we so in we've put in a couple offers on a couple of parks. They haven't gone our way, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. But we do have our sights set on and in negotiations for a couple of sites here, a couple of parks here in the Southeast still. Hopefully within the next day or so, we'll probably be under contract for another one. And then we have 2 more in the pipeline that we're still negotiating right now. So the future's bright, and I just can't be more happy and more grateful for the opportunities I'm receiving now.
That's incredible, and we wish you continued success on your as you're growing out your platform. So I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to bring something up that has nothing to do with mobile home park investing, but anybody who follows Joe on LinkedIn or follows what he's doing, I mean, you just did an incredible hike for homeless veterans. Do you want to just talk a little bit about what you're doing and what this means for you? Because if you follow the story, I mean, you've got a great social media presence and you're telling a great story there. So just if you want to share that, what's going on and what you're doing, I'd love to hear about more about this mission that you're on.
Yeah. So a friend of mine, his name's Eric, whatnot. He called me up. He said, "Hey, listen, hey, Joe. Well, actually, it was on Facebook. He posted on Facebook that he was doing this event for homeless vets, and it piqued my interest. And I started looking at it, and it was come hike the John Muir Trail, which is a 212-mile trail in California. It starts in Yosemite National Forest, and then it goes all the way to Mount Whitney, which is the highest point in the United States at 14,505 feet. And I contacted him. I said, "Yeah, that I would love, dude. Let me in. I'm great, dude. I would love to try to raise money and do the hike." And he told me about its Veterans Community Project, VCP.org. And they build tiny houses. They build tiny house communities for the homeless vets. They accept them in. They feed them. They get them medical help and all that good stuff. And then once they've made it through the program and they're ready, then they get them, into work programs and get them on their feet and stuff. So the biggest thing is they're around other vets that are going through the same thing that they're going through. So it's like a brotherhood in these tiny house communities or whatever. And they build them around the United States. They're up to 6 right now. And they just closed out with our help of fundraising, and with their last push, they just closed out this last campaign to build the 7th one, I believe. So I couldn't be happier, but I think it's a great organization to do that because, a lot of people focus on homelessness, which is a huge problem. But the thing that I always say, man, like, these vets, like, us vets we're less than 1% of the total population, right? And if we can't take care of our, the people that put their life on the line for us and stuff, and that swore an oath to take care of us, then if we can't take care of that small portion of the nation, then I think the cause is lost at that point. So I think that it's hugely important that we make headway into this, and not just this, but the suicide rate between vets is about 22 vets a day take their own lives, right? And and most of them, a lot of them are homeless also. So I'm very active in the vet communities, trying to raise awareness for this, and then helping raise money for these different organizations. Just because I just, like I said, there's reasons I am where I am, and it's none of my own, right? I had a strong anchor that held me in place, and then my faith and stuff like that. But if it wasn't for certain people in my life, I mean, I was one. I'm one decision away from where they are, right? And so I see that, and I want to make sure that the people that want the help, that need the help, get it.
Joe, that's incredibly powerful story, and it just goes to show that you've basically spent your whole adult life giving for your country, helping and giving back, and what you're doing in the communities. So I want to thank you very much for just appearing on this program. I think you have a very powerful story, and I'm glad that you're able to get that out there. And if somebody wants to reach out to you or find you or see what you're doing online, what's the best way for them to follow Joe Jackson and your path?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, Joseph Jackson on LinkedIn, and then also my email is joseph@primeoak.com. If you want to talk about deals, or if you have some, or if you want to sell some, or you're looking at some of our parks, hook me up. Or if you want to talk about vets and how you can help there, please reach out there also. I love helping people. I know that there was people that helped me along the way, even with my mobile home park journey so far. And I just, like I said, I always try to pay it back. I try to pay it back forward and help that newcomer coming up also. So just reach out, and I'm an open book.
Well, this has been a fantastic episode. Joe Jackson from Prime Oak. And something tells me that in this space, we're going to be talking to Joe again, and we're going to be seeing him in a lot of different places. So Joe Jackson from Prime Oak, thank you for appearing. And if you like this program, give us a rating on Spotify or iTunes. You can give us a rating, give us a star, give us a like, give us a share. You can also, if you want to see what it takes to be a mobile home park operator, check out our video series at Trailer Park Turnaround on YouTube. That's Trailer Park Turnaround. This is Frank Rizzo with the MHP Exchange at the MHPExchange.com. Until next time, happy investing.